Folks, the whole country thinks of Florida as this bastion of conservatism. And in some ways, to be clear, Florida has been a leader pushing back on some of the crazy stuff during the Biden administration, and we're very grateful for that. But everything is not as rosy as it may seem. We have a supermajority of Republicans in both houses of the legislature, and yet we have a bill to protect children from perversion and obscenity that's having some trouble getting through. Joining us to discuss is Keith Flaugh. He's the co-founder and leader of the Florida Citizens Alliance. It's a powerhouse here in the state of Florida. They have almost 300,000 members. When they speak, the folks in Tallahassee typically listen, and yet this one's turning out to be a heavy lift. Keith, welcome to the program. Talk to us about this bill to protect children from harmful material, and why is this not a no-brainer, an easy pass for the legislature?
Alex, thanks for having me. There's no question it should be a no-brainer. We're in our second year. We didn't make it through the process last year. This year, Representative Doug Benson has filed the bill 1539 in the House, and it's moving through the House. I expect it to go to the final committee next week and then onto the floor. The issue is in the Senate side of the equation. It passed its first of three committees. And then the full education committee, there are two Republicans who decided they were going to vote against the bill. So they did a technical temporary postponement. The problem is that the committee's not meeting again. So they effectively killed the bill. There is a path forward. It's a challenging path forward. If we can get it through the House and off the House floor, they can message it over to the Senate President, President Albritton. He's a faith-based guy. As we're told, he's supportive of what we're trying to do, but he would have to bring it directly to the floor of the Senate for a vote. And so that's the challenge. And, time right now is our enemy because they're starting week 7 of an 8-week session. Session ends on May 2nd. So that's what's before us. Two Republican senators, Senator Don Gates and Representative Alexis Calatayud decided that they were not going to support the bill. And so that's why we're in the position we're in.
Did they say why, Keith, why they're not going to support the bill? And then tell us a little bit about the bill, too. I mean, what are the details? I think there's a misinformation across the country that Florida children are already protected from some of the crazy, vile stuff that you see in some of the other states. But that's not the case, is it?
No, it is not. The simple version of the bill it's technically called the Miller test. It's a Supreme Court decision that had 3 parts to it. And part 3 is what is the problem here. It provides a loophole in Florida statute. And what it says, paraphrasing, is that any material or book that has any literary value taken as a whole, even if it has pornography, it's protected under the First Amendment. When that Supreme Court decision came down, it did not differentiate between adults and kids. There are 3 other Supreme Court decisions, one before Miller and 2 after, that encouraged the states to differentiate for their kids. And so this bill, run by Rep. Benson, literally would prohibit school districts from using that loophole to defend keeping this garbage in our school system. It's a real simple bill, and it puts some teeth in it, some penalty that lets the Florida Department of Education significantly penalize school districts that abuse it. But again, we're running into trouble in the Senate.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. And my guess is they just assume nobody's going to know. And so, they can do whatever they want. Keith, why are Republicans in the legislature pushing back on it? I mean, again, this just seems like such a no-brainer. Why would a Republican want to protect the ability of perverts to sexualize children in tax-funded schools?
Well, Senator Calatayud has said that she supports this stuff in the school district, and she supports not providing any further guidance to school districts. So she's actually come out in favor of saying, we don't want to be banning books, and this should be something that each school district provides. Senator Don Gates is using a slightly different argument. He's concerned that this bill would restrict some of the school districts and give them the option to pull classics out of the libraries. We think the bill, and the House fully agrees that the bill has a protection there to prevent that. But he decided at the very last minute to join Catalute, and that took away the majority of Republicans in the Senate committee, and so therefore that killed the bill in that committee.
Wow. Amazing, Keith. Turning to the broader issue of the government's school system, again, there's, I think, a false impression across America, at least among conservatives, that Florida is some bastion of good education. And you and I talked the other day. Even I didn't realize how bad the situation really was in terms, even just in terms of the academics. I mean, forget the weird porn stuff. Even in academics, our kids are struggling in a major way. What do we make of this? I know Florida Citizens Alliance is pushing on this. You guys have talked about, whether Trump would be able to save Florida's schools. What's going on with Florida's schools? Where are we nationally, and what do you think needs to happen to get some improvement here?
Well, we need to change our grading system. Ever since Jeb Bush days, we have a grading system for our schools that is based on some 8 to 10 factors and what it says. And I'm obviously a lot older than you are, and many of your listeners, but when I went to school, if I got a 75 on a test, I got an F. Since Jeb Bush days, our schools are graded on this formula of these eight factors, and 62% or better is an A. 62% or better is an A, and the difference between a C and a D is 39 versus 40%. So the schools and the legislature and elected officials wander around saying we're not, our schools are great. 58% of our A and B schools. They've lowered the bar so far. Now there's a bill in the House to change that 62 up to 90% over 3 years, which is good. And it passed the first committee in the Senate or in the House. But a number of Republicans on that committee said that they would not support it if it didn't change that, so that they don't have to go back to their home districts and defend why all the school districts are failing. I mean, it's just absurd what's going on. Now, to take this up to a national level, Florida ranked 46th on the nation's report card in math and 47th in English in reading. If you look at the SAT for 2023-2024, the SAT, which many of your listeners, I'm sure, are familiar with, Florida ranked 43rd.
Oh, man.
And on the AC test, we ranked 39th. And if you go look at the detail, the academic detail that U.S. News and World Report puts out, the vast majority of our school districts, more than 50% of the kids can't read and do math at grade level. And yet we're graduating in Florida about 88% of our kids. It defies logic. But
this is fraud, Keith. This is fraud. If this was in any other industry, these people would be arrested for defrauding consumers. This is just crazy. And the most ironic and crazy thing is, I literally know people who have moved to Florida because they were under the impression that the schools were a better place for their children. This is just amazing. Why don't people know this, Keith? Why has this not been more broadly publicized?
Well, we've certainly done everything we can to publicize it as we've grown. And you've been helpful in that. People, a lot of parents really don't want to know, right? Because it forces them into a decision. Said, okay, I can no longer keep my kid in a public school. What do I do? Which leads us to one of our major initiatives, which is helping Christian moms and dads start micro schools and get out of government schools. And I know you support that, but it is really a challenge to get parents to take that leap. You know, you and I and all of us have been indoctrinated by this public school system we have, and so when it comes to helping parents understand really how easy it is to homeschool or create a micro school, co-op, whatever, how easy it is to do that in today's world. We've all been a bit brainwashed, I believe.
Yeah. Keith, before we move on to a couple of the topics I want to nail down before we finish today, for the folks out there listening in Florida who may be thinking, well, I would like to work on that, how do they reach out to Florida Citizens Alliance to work with you guys on establishing one of these institutions?
You can go to our website. It's www.goflca.org, goflca.org.
And you guys work with partners, correct me if I'm wrong, like the Freedom Project Academy. I serve on the board there. Great online classical K through 12 Christian school. You guys work, I think, with Classical Conversations. Is that right? Yep. I serve as the senior advisor there. Another really solid program. I've got my kids in there. And there are some others as well, right? You work. Give us a rundown of some of the groups that you guys are working with.
Well, you mentioned two of the five that we vetted and we support their curriculum. But one you didn't mention was Foundation for American Christian Education.
Oh, they're fantastic too. Yep, up in Virginia.
Yeah, but our premier partner is the Herzog Foundation. They have developed an amazing entrepreneurial 8-step program. And so here in Florida, what we have is we're training education consultants to come alongside Christian moms and dads, and we require them to go through the Herzog process, which is in simple terms, it's an entrepreneurial process. You may be very passionate about getting your kids out, but most people don't have that business background. And if you're going to start a school, and particularly in the legal environment every state's in, and even here in Florida, you need to do it the right way, or you get yourself and your kids in hot water. So we have trained consultants that come alongside parents and help them sort through an effective process. And in the last full year of 2024, we launched 10 micro schools in 6 different counties in Florida. Our plan is to at least triple that this year. And the opportunity is to blow the lid off this, but and it's really convincing parents to lead this effort. I do want to be clear. We want pastors to support it. Many of these churches sit empty 50% of the time, but we don't want this to be a church-led. We want it to be parent-led with church coming alongside to support.
Amen. What a great thing, Keith. I can't think of many things that are more important that we could be doing right now for our children and for our country than working on these issues. Before we go today, I know you guys are also supporting a bill that's in the legislature right now to bring gold back into commerce. Representative Banks and I spoke with him yesterday about this for an article I'm working on. This is hugely significant, and it's kind of under the media radar. Give us the elevator pitch on why you think this bill is important.
Well, I think it's important because it gives you and I the ability to use whatever gold and silver we have and actually spend it on an incremental basis, right? And it also would take away any tax implications of that. I've been a big supporter for a couple of years of this process. It really doesn't directly fit in our lane of protecting our kids, but when you think about it, if our financial system craters, then families are certainly affected. And so we have decided to actively support this.
Excellent. And also, folks out there are some JBS action alerts on this issue. If you live in the state of Florida, it makes it real simple to get in touch with your representatives. And this is a big issue, folks, and you're not going to hear about it from most of the fake media. So I hope you will check it out. Keith, we're almost out of time. Tell the folks one more time how they can, if they live here in Florida, connect with the Florida Citizens Alliance and help protect children from these terrible things.
Well, our website is goflca.org, goflca.org. You can go online and subscribe. There's no cost. As you said, Alex, we got almost 300,000 people in our active database. As bills are going through the process, we put out action alerts to make it very easy for you to tell every legislator on a committee what you want them to do. And it's a simple push a button one time, and you tell 10 committee members, for example, what you want them to do. And so we just encourage people to join us. We make it easy. We do all the heavy lifting. We do all the analysis. If you decide you support us, then great. If not, then you don't have to get involved. But our kids are our posterity, and what we're doing to them is unconscionable.
It really is. And Keith, I appreciate very much your leadership here in the state of Florida on these most important issues. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you for sounding the alarm about these things that people need to know about. We appreciate it, and I hope we can talk to you again soon.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Keith. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. Really appreciate you. Go to thenewamerican.com for more. This is Conversations That Matter. I'm your host, Alex Newman. Until next time, God bless you all.